It's 8 a.m. You have exactly 5 minutes before the join meeting button becomes a moral obligation. You're currently sitting on the edge of your bed, and your body is having a very loud conversation with your brain. Maybe it's a high pain day. Maybe the brain fog is so thick you can't remember where you put your shoes, or even if you have shoes anymore. And then you look at the chair. You know the one. That chair that sits at your desk and feels like you're sitting on a pincushion. And you look at your dresser and you think, if I put on jeans right now, that's going to cost me. Because for us, getting dressed isn't just a morning routine. It's an expensive transaction. It costs energy. It costs sensory bandwidth. And you find yourself asking the ultimate question. Do I spend my last 5% of energy putting on denim and a belt just to look correct? Or do I save those spoons for the 90-minute meeting that starts in 4 minutes? If you chose the blanket and the PJs, stay tuned. You aren't lazy. You're a strategist. Welcome to episode 2. The virtual classroom uniform and why it's our PJs. Today, we're diving into the world of virtual optics. Virtual optics is that weird, invisible pressure we feel to perform professionalism in a space that is literally our sanctuary. We've been conditioned to believe that if our environment isn't uncomfortable, we aren't actually working. We feel guilty for being cozy. We feel like if we aren't sitting upright with a curated bookshelf behind us, we're somehow failing the assignment. But why do we feel guilty for being comfortable? It's because of this outdated idea that professionalism is a look rather than an output. We've been taught that looking ready is a prerequisite for being capable. But when you're managing chronic fatigue, neurodivergence, or physical discomfort, that rule is actually a barrier. When you spend all your mental energy ignoring how much your waistband is digging into your skin or how much your back aches in that desk chair, you have less room in your brain for work. The guilt is a lie. The comfort is a tool. In this episode, we are officially debunking the hard chair equals hard worker myth. We're going to talk about why the waist up look is a revolutionary act of energy management. We're going to explore how to build a toolkit for physical sustainability. Because, let's be honest, school and work, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you can't run a marathon in a suit and tie, especially not if you're running it from your living room. So we're shifting that goalpost today. The goal isn't to look like a stock photo of the productive university student or the productive teacher. The goal is to survive the semester without burning out your nervous system just to impress a 2-inch webcam lens. By the end of this podcast, you're going to have a full plan for your virtual uniform, a low-energy, ergonomic setup that doesn't require a $500 chair, and the exact script to use when you just need to keep that camera off. So if you're currently wrapped in a duvet like a human burrito, don't you dare move. You are perfectly positioned for success. Let's get into the Waist Up Masterclass. So let's get started. Let's look at the science of enclothed cognition. So what is this? Before we get into the how-to, I want to talk about the why. There's a psychological term for the way our clothes mess with our heads. It's called enclothed cognition. Basically, researchers found that clothes don't just change how others see us, they change how we see ourselves and how our brains perform. In a famous 2012 study, they gave two groups of people the exact same white coat. They told the first group it was a painter's smock. In the second group, it was a doctor's lab coat. The doctors performed significantly better on tasks requiring focused attention than the painters did. Why? Because the brain associated the coat with being careful, clinical, and attentive. So when your professor or your well-meaning aunt says, "You'll feel more productive if you put on real pants," they aren't technically wrong. There is a psychological on switch tied to our wardrobe. But, and this is a big but, the study didn't account for what happens when the lab coat feels like a suit of armor that's 3 sizes too small. So here's the low spoon rebuttal to the enclothed cognition. For many of us, especially those dealing with chronic pain, sensory processing issues, or high-level fatigue, the cost of the uniform outweighs the benefit of the mindset. If you have fibromyalgia or sensory sensitivities, a pair of stiff denim jeans isn't a productivity signal, it's a cognitive drain. Your brain is constantly sending danger signals because your skin is irritated or your joints feel restricted. You end up spending 40% of your mental energy just tuning out the discomfort of your clothes. And when you're already starting the day with a limited number of spoons, you cannot afford to waste them on a waistband. In our world, a soft, oversized hoodie isn't laziness. It's sensory regulation. By removing the physical noise of uncomfortable clothes, you're actually freeing up more bandwidth to focus on your work. You're trading looking professional for being functional. So how do we get the best of both worlds? How do we tell our brains it's time to work without putting our bodies through the ringer? We'll do it through a context shift. If we aren't using our clothes as our on switch, we need to find other sensory anchors. Our brains are incredibly good at association. If you can't change your outfit, change your atmosphere. You need a signal that tells your brain the duvet is still here, but the sleep version of me is off duty and the work version of me is now online. Here's 2 of my favorite low spoon anchors. The school scent. Pick a specific candle, an essential oil diffuser, or even a specific room spray that you only use during class or work time. Maybe it's peppermint for focus or citrus for energy. When that scent hits your nose, your brain goes, "Oh, I know this smell. This is the learning or working smell." The second one, the school tea or coffee. Use a specific mug, the class mug or the work mug. Make a specific drink that you only have during work. It's a Pavlovian response. When you take that first sip, you're signaling the transition into work mode. No blazer required. You're building a ritual that respects your body's need for soft fabrics while giving your brain the structure that it craves. Coming up next, we're going to get tactical with the Waist Up Masterclass and how to look like a Dean's List student or a A+ worker while feeling like a cozy marshmallow. All right, it's time for the Waist Up Masterclass. Let's start with the rule of 3. And let's get tactical. If you've decided that today is a pajama day, which, let's be honest, that's most days, how do we ensure that the person on the other side of the screen sees a dedicated teacher or dedicated student instead of a distressed hermit. You don't need a film crew. You just need the rule of three: lighting, angle, and one focal point. These three things create the waist up illusion. It's about directing the eye of your coworkers or your students or teachers or whoever to the parts of you that say, I'm engaged, while keeping the I am exhausted parts safely out of the frame. All right, lighting, the window rule. You do not need to go out and buy a $50 ring light that gives you those weird glowing circles in your eyes. The most powerful tool you already have is already in your room. It's a window. The window rule is simple. Face the light. Never let it be behind you. If the window is behind you, you become a dark, mysterious silhouette, which is great if you're in the witness protection program, but not so great for teaching a 7th grade math class. When you face the light, it naturally smooths out the shadows under your eyes. You know, the ones that scream that I haven't slept since 2014. If it's nighttime, just pull a desktop behind your laptop screen. That's it. Instant I'm awake vibes for $0. Next is your focal point. Visual interest is a shortcut for perceived effort. If you're wearing a plain, oversized gray hoodie, which is basically the unofficial low spoon uniform, you can elevate it to a professional look with exactly one item. Think of it as a distraction technique. A pair of nice earrings, a clean-cut headband, or even just a hoodie that is a solid, bright color signals intent. It says, I thought about my appearance today, even if the thinking only took 4 seconds. Pick one thing that sits near your face to act as an anchor. It breaks up the bedhead look and gives the camera something sharp to focus on. Sometimes, there's a lot of times actually, where I don't wear my makeup. And I'm on camera every day teaching class and in meetings. I keep a tube of lipstick and lip gloss right on my desk. It adds that pop of color to my face. I even change up the frame on my glasses. I got some of those pear eyewear glasses. They're amazing. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. But I can change the frame to how I'm feeling. Like right now, I have my brown and gray ones on. I have a pair of pink frames. I have a pair of blue frames. I have some blue and brown ombre frames. It just depends on my mood. A lot of times I just go with the clear frames that my glasses are. But if I want to shake it up a bit, I pop on a different colored frame. And a little pop of color on my lips, and then I'll let the camera smooth out everything else. Now for that background illusion. Let's talk about your set. One of the biggest sources of virtual anxiety is the messy room factor. If your room looks like a laundry basket exploded, you're not alone. And if it does look like that, you feel like you have to keep the camera on. But you don't need a completely clean room. You just need a 2-foot corner. Find one small section of wall. Maybe it's just a plain door or a single shelf, and make that your designated work spot. Clear the clutter just in that tiny frame. If you can't find a 2-foot corner, the blur is your best friend. Every major platform has a blur background feature now. Use it. It turns your piles of unstaged life into a soft, professional looking room. It creates a boundary between your private sanctuary and your classroom. Heck, use the AI backgrounds that they have available as well. Some of those are really kind of cool looking. Now, you may not want to put the one where you're on a beach. That might throw up some signals, but they've got some really nice looking room backgrounds that you can use. Now, finally, how do you look engaged while you are physically horizontal? Sometimes sitting up isn't an option. Excuse me. Maybe your back is out, or the fatigue is just hitting that hard. First, the pillow stack. Never put the laptop directly on your lap if you're laying down. It creates the double chin and nose hair angle that nobody wants. Stack 2 or 3 firm pillows on your stomach and rest the laptop there. Next, the eye line. Your camera should be at eye level. If the laptop is propped up high enough, you can be propped up against a headboard with a blanket up to your chest and on screen. It just looks like you're sitting in a very comfortable high back chair. And last, the tilt. Tilt the screen down just slightly. It creates the illusion that you're leaning into the conversation rather than leaning away from it. Remember, the goal isn't to lie to people, it's to allow yourself the physical grace to be comfortable so you can actually listen to what's going on. Up next, we're going to talk about the social cost of being on camera and how to gracefully bow out when your personal battery hits 1%. All right, we've covered a lot so far, but let's get into this 3-minute body check. We're going to make sure that we're comfortable. We're going to make sure that we're not causing ourselves any more spoons than necessary. So this 3-minute body check. First up, we have the interactive scan. We've talked a lot about the optics of school and how the world sees us. But for the next few minutes, I want to talk to you about how you feel. If you're listening to this right now, I want you to take a second and do a body scan. Most of us don't realize how much tension we're holding in until someone points it out to us. So check your jaw. Are your teeth clenched? If they are, let your tongue drop away from the roof of your mouth. Let your lower jaw hang heavy. Check your shoulders. Are they trying to touch your earlobes? Most virtual school and virtual work tension lives right there in the traps. Let them drop. Imagine they're melting away from your neck. Next, check your grip. If you're holding a phone or a mouse, how tight are you squeezing it? Relax your hand, wiggle your fingers. You don't need to hold on that tight. And since we're talking about that virtual classroom or virtual work environment, I want to give you 3 camera-safe stretches. These are movements you can do while you're in a meeting, while you're teaching class, that won't make it look like you're doing a yoga routine in the middle of it. First, the looking for a pin neck stretch. Gently drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Keep your face pointed forward. If you're on camera, it just looks like you're tilting your head in deep thought. Hold it for 5 seconds and switch. Feel that pull along the side of your neck? That's your nervous system saying thank you. Next, the under table wrist release. If you've been typing or scrolling, your wrists are taking a hit. Drop your hands into your lap out of the camera frame. Make a tight fist and then splay your fingers out as wide as they can go. Repeat that 3 times. It helps to keep the carpal tunnel at bay without anyone being the wiser. And next, the seated cat-cow. Keep your hands on your lap or on the desk. As you inhale, subtly lift your chest and pull your shoulders back. As you exhale, slightly tuck your chin around and round your upper back. To someone on the other side of the camera, it looks like you're just adjusting your posture. To your spine, it's like a reset button. Take one more deep breath. In through the nose, and a long, slow exhale out through the mouth. We fix the clothes. We fix the lighting. We've given our body a moment of grace. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the low energy desk, how to turn your couch, your bed, and even your floor into a high functioning workspace that doesn't drain your battery. Welcome back. We've handled how you look. Now let's talk about how you live. There's this image out there of the perfect worker, the perfect teacher, the perfect student, sitting at a pristine white desk with that $600 ergonomic chair. But if you're dealing with chronic pain or a major energy deficit, that desk can feel less like a workspace and more like a torture device. Enter the low energy desk. This is about finding the path of least resistance for your skeleton. First up, the floor desk. Don't knock it till you've tried it. If you have a decent rug or a yoga mat, sitting on the floor with your back pressed against the base of your sofa can actually be a game changer. It allows your hips to open up in a way that cheap office chairs don't. You can stretch your legs out, sit crisscrossed, or lean back. It lowers your center of gravity, and honestly, it feels less formal, which can lower the task anxiety that makes us procrastinate. Then there's the ultimate low spoon sanctuary, the bed. We've all heard the "don't work in bed" rule, but sometimes the bed is the only place your body feels supported. If you're going to do it, you have to do it right so you don't end up with tech neck. The lap desk. If you can swing it, a lap desk with foldable legs is the gold standard. It keeps the heat of the laptop off your legs, which is a major fatigue trigger, and it brings the screen up closer to your face. I used to have one that the top actually tilted so I could lay back even a little bit more. It did cost a little bit more, but it was worth the money. Unfortunately, I lost it in my move. Then we have the pillow fortress. If you don't have a lap desk, use the triangle method. One pillow under your knees to take the pressure off your lower back, and two pillows behind you in a V shape to support your rib cage. Then we have the hard surface rule. Never, ever put your laptop directly on a duvet. It'll overheat, the fan will start screaming, and your laptop will die a slow and dusty death. Grab a large coffee table book or even a sturdy serving tray. It makes the perfect makeshift hard surface. Beyond the furniture, there's that invisible load that we deal with. It's that sensory input that drains your battery without you even knowing it. So, blue light filters. If you find yourself getting a headache an hour into your class or an hour into your meeting or your workday, it might not be the subject matter. It might be the light. Use a software like f.lux or your computer's night shift mode during the day. It warms up the screen and stops that harsh blue glare from overstimulating your brain. Then we have the silent headphone trick. Noise-canceling headphones are a low spoon essential. And here's the secret. You don't even have to play music. Just wearing them creates a physical muffled boundary between you and the world around you. It tells your brain that the neighbor's lawnmower and the hum of the fridge are not my problem right now. You also need a hydration station. Let's face it, one of the biggest energy leaks is the start and stop cycle. You sit down, you get settled, and you realize you're thirsty. You get up, you walk to the kitchen, you see a pile of dishes, get distracted by the mail, and suddenly you've spent 10 minutes and 10 spoons on a glass of water. Get yourself a 30-ounce bottle or bigger. Fill it up once before your day starts. Think of it as a productivity hack. By having a station where everything you need is within arm's reach, your water, your meds, some snacks, your chapstick, you're protecting your focus. You're telling your body, I've got everything we need right here, and we don't move until the work is done. Now, what I did until I've changed apartments, I had my classroom fridge. I had a little mini fridge that had a full freezer on it. I'd gotten it as a Mother's Day gift several years ago, or birthday gift several years ago. And I used it in my classroom when I taught in brick and mortar. I kept my drinks in there, kept my lunch. That way I didn't have to go up and down the stairs to the teacher's lounge all the time. Well, when I left brick and mortar last year and started working from home, I kept my fridge. And I kept my drinks and some snacks, some fruit, all that stuff that I needed in that fridge in my bedroom next to my desk. That way I didn't have to get up during the workday, go out to the kitchen and see all the mess out there during my workday. I had everything that I needed within arm's reach. Unfortunately, when I moved, I didn't have room for the fridge, so I sold it to another teacher, and hopefully she's getting some good use out of it. But if you have room for a mini fridge, I would say get one and keep it close by. That way you can keep bottles of water, some food, anything that you need right there next to you. Now, in our next segment, we're going to talk about the social politics of the virtual world and how to advocate for yourself when you just cannot keep that camera on. All right, everyone, we need to have a real conversation about the camera on mandate. For many virtual classrooms and virtual work environments, there is this rigid policy that your camera must be on to count as being present. The intention is usually good. Supervisors and professors and teachers, they want to see your face and feel like they aren't just talking into a void. But in practice, a required video can be incredibly ableist and classist. For some of us, being on camera is a major sensory and cognitive tax. If you have ADHD, you see yourself in a tiny box on the screen, and that can be so distracting that you literally can't process what's being said. If you're managing chronic pain or a low spoon day, the energy it takes to perform a neutral facial expression for 2 hours is energy you aren't using to learn or to teach. And let's not forget the privacy element. Not everyone has a Pinterest-ready home or a private office. Maybe you're joining a class from a shared bedroom or a busy kitchen or even your car. Forcing a camera on means forcing you to invite 20 strangers into your private sanctuary. Your worth as a person is about your intellectual engagement, not your willingness to provide a live feed of your living space. Now, I got lucky with my virtual teaching job. We have a set background that we have to use that has the school logo on it, so nobody can see what's going on behind us. And for our students, we have a on-camera option. So kids can join the class. They don't have to have their camera on. They don't even have to talk. They can talk in the chat. They don't have to be verbal. It helps with engagement, actually. It gets those that are really shy and socially awkward, it gives them that chance to voice their thoughts without feeling like they're being judged for being on camera or for speaking. Now, I know not everyone has that. So what do you do when you're in class or a meeting with a camera on culture, but you've hit your limit? You don't just have to ghost the class or sit there in misery. You negotiate. Most supervisors and teachers are human. They're just looking for engagement. If you can prove you're listening, they usually back off on the visual requirement. So here's your script for success. You can drop this in a private chat to the host or send a quick email before the meeting, whichever works, or you can do both. Hi, so-and-so. I'm managing a bit of a flare-up today, or if you prefer, I'm having some bandwidth and tech issues. I'm going to have to keep my camera off to ensure that I can stay focused and present for the whole class or for the whole meeting. But I'll be active and participating in the chat. By using the phrase, ensure I can stay for the whole meeting, you're framing it as a commitment to their class. You aren't saying I'm checking out. You're saying I'm doing what I need to do so I can stay in. Usually, once you show up in the chat with a thoughtful question or a great point, they stop worrying about the black box where your face should be. And if you are going to be a frequent camera off person, you have to use the social presence hat. When your camera is off and there's no photo, you're just a gray box with white text. It's easy for people to forget that you're there. But if you upload a high-quality, friendly, and well-lit photo of yourself as your avatar, one where you're smiling or looking ready, that image stays on the screen the whole time. Psychologically, if people can see your face in a photo, they stop looking for it in the video box. It satisfies that human need for connection without you actually having to maintain that live performance. It's a one-time setup that pays dividends in every single meeting. You become a permanent pleasant presence in the room, even if you are currently under 3 blankets with a cold compress on your head. Remember, advocacy starts with believing that your needs are valid. You're not cheating by being camera on. You're managing your resources so that you can actually show up for your work and your education. We're heading into our final stretch. Stay with me for the low spoon mantra and a few ways you can help grow our community. We've covered a lot today, from the physics of lighting to the psychology of lab coats and the politics of the camera on mandate. But if you take away only one thing from today's episode, let it be this. You are a person, not a set dresser. Your job this semester or this quarter is to absorb information, to challenge your perspective, and to grow your skills. Your job is not to look like a stock photo of productivity. You don't owe anyone a performance of being busy or polished. If the only way that you can get through a 2-hour class or a 2-hour meeting on a high-paying day is by sitting in your pajamas with a heating pad, then those pajamas are the most professional thing you could possibly be wearing, because they are the gear that keeps you in the game. Don't let the guilt of not looking the part stop you from doing the part. I want to leave you with a mantra for those days when the 8:55 a.m. battle feels particularly heavy. If you're staring at that Zoom link, feeling like a failure because you can't manage a real outfit, I want you to say this to yourself. I am choosing comfort so I can choose to focus. Say that again. I am choosing comfort so I can choose focus. By stripping away the unnecessary physical strain of the professional dress, you are actively prioritizing your work. You are making a strategic decision to put your energy where it belongs. I want to see how you're making this work. So let's start a movement to normalize the virtual uniform. Take a photo of your secret setup. You know the one. The nice blazer or cardigan on top with the wildest, coziest pajama bottoms on the bottom. Tag me on YouTube or Spotify. Let's show the world what a virtual worker actually looks like. And if you're listening to this from under a blanket right now, or if this episode gave you a little bit of breathing room today, please hit that like button. Share this with a fellow spoonie who is struggling. And subscribe so that you don't miss our next triage. And if you're one of those that feels like you have to have a chair, a specific office chair at your desk, you feel like you have to be at your desk, and you're just not to that choosing comfort over focus type mentality yet, I highly, highly recommend that you get one of those crisscross chairs that we've all been seeing all over TikTok and Facebook and all over social media. I got me one. I've been sitting crisscross, moving it behind me, kneeling on it, sitting backwards in the chair, whatever. I've been moving and being comfortable throughout this whole podcast. So if you feel like you need to get a chair, get one that's going to be comfortable. And I can tell you the one that I have is amazing. I love it. I'm Teresa. Thank you for spending this time with me. Grab your water, adjust your pillows, and I'll see you in the next episode.